Hello, this is Fact Drops, your go-to channel for breaking down trending news. Today's big news. Harvard University is making tuition free for students from families earning under $200,000 per year. This isn't just another scholarship program. It could fundamentally change the future of higher education in the US. Why is this such a big deal? Harvard is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. But its annual tuition costs around $75,000. While financial aid has always been available for lower income students, this new policy means that many middle-class families who previously couldn't afford Harvard now have a real shot at attending. If you've ever dreamed of going to Harvard but thought it was too expensive, this could be a game changer for you. So, let's break it down. Who qualifies for free tuition? Why did Harvard make this decision? How will this impact other universities? And what does this mean for everyday families? And of course, we'll also take a look at how the internet is reacting. Stay ahead of the latest trends and breaking news with Fact Drops. We bring you in-depth analysis of the most important stories shaping the world today. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to stay updated. Let's get into it. Harvard has announced that starting in the 2025 to 2026 academic year, students from families earning under $200,000 per year will get free tuition. And here's where it gets even bigger. Students from families earning less than $100,000 will have all their expenses covered. That means not just tuition, but also housing, meals, health insurance, and travel costs. This policy is expected to benefit around 25% of Harvard's undergraduate students. That's over 4,000 students. With tuition no longer being a barrier, many talented students who once saw Harvard as financially out of reach now have a real chance. This news is making headlines everywhere, with major media outlets calling it a historic shift in American higher education. But why did Harvard make this decision? Harvard has always offered financial aid, but until now, only students from families earning under $85,000 per year qualified for full tuition coverage. That left many middle-class families struggling to afford Harvard, even if their kids were accepted. The cost of college in the US has skyrocketed. Many students graduate with massive student loan debt, making higher education a financial burden. And elite universities like Harvard have faced criticism for being dominated by students from wealthy families, while lower-income and middle-class students remain underrepresented. With ongoing debates about student loan relief, there's been growing pressure on top universities to take more responsibility for making education accessible. But here's the key point: Harvard can afford this. It has one of the largest university endowments in the world, over $50 billion. So this move isn't just about generosity. It's also about redefining Harvard's image as a university for everyone, not just the ultra-rich. Next, let's take a look at what people are saying online. This isn't a new thing. If you get into Harvard and can prove you can't afford it, you basically get a free ride. The problem is it's insanely hard to get into Harvard, and the kids that have the advantage of money, top-tier education, and connections have a huge advantage. No, it's not a new thing. But according to the article, the household income threshold up until this point had been $85,000. Now it's $200,000. A pretty significant increase. Let's not downplay the extent that the bar is being lifted. Yep. You need high grades and something that makes you special. You generally don't become a prodigy at piano, or hockey, or whatever without enough cash for tons of lessons. I got into a similar school for sports. And that was only because we had money for private lessons and my mom didn't work, so she could drive me around every day and take me to competitions on weekends. Started when I was too young to remember. So much time and money. Harvard has been not only tuition free but room and board free for kids of families making less than $65,000 for a long time. It's a sliding scale after that based on 10% of your family's income until a cap where they decide you can pay. No American pays sticker price at an Ivy League school unless their parents make more than $200,000. That's incredibly generous of them. I absolutely know nobody making more than 115,000 euros a year. What jobs or employers pay such insane amounts of money? In my worldview, it seems like almost everybody would get free tuition. Or are salaries in the US that much higher than in Europe? I attended an Ivy League school as the kind of student you describe. So I'll just share my experience. In short, I don't think people realize just how insanely wealthy the students who attend these schools are. They are camps for wealthy children. Yes, half of the students receive some financial aid. But if the cutoff for aid is, say, $150,000 for a $300,000 all-in degree, I would guarantee you there are very few students from households making $100 to $200,000. When I went to college, the total cost was around $200,000. My experience was there was a solid contingent of kids from middle to lower income backgrounds, e.g., parents were teachers or middle managers, who took out around $20,000 to $50,000 in loans and had work-study. But among the kids who didn't get financial aid, most came from dual physician, dual corporate lawyer, dual hedge fund households, bringing in enough money such that the cost of college was analogous to another car payment for your average person. You notice it, but it is easy to budget for. As has been said here, the upper middle class gets hit hardest. I had one parent who worked full-time as a doctor and grew up lacking nothing. We didn't qualify for aid. In order to prevent my taking out loans, my family maxed out a $529 for my whole childhood. Completely depleted it. Refinanced the house. And probably delayed retirement by 5 years. I knew a guy at MIT who had to take out something like $200,000 in loans because his parents wouldn't pay for his college. They weren't like multimillionaires, just upper middle class, I think. I also think they had some properties inflating their net worth, but which they couldn't sell, or something like that. I really don't understand parents of some means, as in this case, who don't plan for college expenses and won't pay. No better place to spend money in my view. Free Ford 100K is pretty sweet, and I'd be surprised if the other Ivy League schools didn't follow suit. But yeah, all of them are generous with financial aid up to like $200K family income. Yeah, and I believe Harvard and Yale both have caps of $150,000 or less. But yeah, they all have nice financial aid. It's worth a look at least, even if someone decides their state college better meets their needs. Harvard for sure does. As does Columbia. I'm sure Yale also does. Can confirm. Was on a trustee scholarship on another of the Ivy schools not mentioned here. When my family lost significant sources of income. Basically 100% need. They stayed there to meet any demonstrated financial need calculated from the FAFSA. Yes. I work in higher ed, and a lot of the Ivies and other wealthy schools are trying to eventually move to a no-tuition model for those that qualify for admission outside of the uber-wealthy. I know people see their massive endowments and go, herder. They could afford everyone to go free, but that's not how endowments work. Last I saw data on MIT, This household income percentile would probably be pretty close to the median enrolled student. Like according to this, 61% cumulative were top 20%. 43% cumulative top 10%. So the top 15% mark should be pretty close to 50%, give or take. Assuming you apply for financial aid and don't have weird assets. Harvard is already free for most students from households under $100,000 per year. This is just a policy change to help out the upper middle class a bit. Honestly, the biggest problem with Harvard and other Ivies isn't tuition. It's the fact that it's ridiculously hard to get in. This doesn't change that reality. Getting into Harvard is the real barrier, not the tuition cost. So what does this mean in the short term and the long term? In the short term, the financial barrier just got significantly lower for students and families considering Harvard. Many who thought Harvard was out of reach now have a real shot at attending. Other top universities, like Stanford, MIT, and Princeton, may feel pressure to introduce similar tuition-free policies. In the long term, this could lead to more diversity in elite universities, as students from different economic backgrounds gain access to top-tier education. While Harvard has the resources to sustain this, it's unclear if other universities can afford to follow suit. Is this a short-term trend, or could it spark a major shift in higher education? What do you think? Do you see this as a game-changing reform? Should other universities adopt similar policies? Or do you think this will only help a small number of students and won't make a real difference? Let us know in the comments. That's it for today's update. Thanks for watching. We'll continue to bring you the latest news and in-depth analysis on the biggest trends shaping the world today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you think this news will impact you? Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.